We continue living in a divided world, many peoples and groups that all try to achieve many different things. They all have their own hopes and dreams and ways of expressing their value system. And let's take a moment and try to learn and see what we can learn together. I'm going to continue on Sun Tzu's Art of War, Section 4, Tactical Dispositions. Sun Tzu said, "The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy. To secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. Thus, the good fighter is able to secure himself against defeat, but cannot make certain of defeating the enemy. Hence the saying, one must know how to conquer without being able to do it." So, from these first four sections, these first four statements here, Sun Tzu's saying that you need to understand whether or not you're going to win a battle before you start the battle. You need to be beyond the possibility of defeat in order to engage. We'll come back to this in a little bit here. 5. Security against defeat implies defensive tactics. Ability to defeat the enemy means taking the offensive. Standing on the defensive indicates insufficient strength. Attacking indicates a superabundance of strength. The general who is skilled in defense hides in the most secret recesses of the earth. He who is skilled in attack flashes forth from the topmost heights of heaven. Thus, on the one hand, we have the ability to protect ourselves. On the other, a victory that is complete. So, Sun Tzu's of this opinion that, if you're defending, okay, this protects your own security. And if you attack, it indicates you have more than enough strength to perform the attack, as opposed to you just going out there and attacking foolishly. And, the general who's skilled in defense, there's this indication that if you are successful at defending, therefore you are skilled at doing it. And if you are successful at attacking, that indicates that you are skilled at doing it. This could be in our modern day controversial, but for the sake of getting through this section, let's continue and then circle back to this. 8. To see victory only when it's within the ken of the common herd is not the acme of excellence. Neither is it the acme of excellence if you fight and conquer, and the whole empire says, "Well done." To lift an autumn hair is no sign of great strength. To see the sun and moon is no sign of sharp sight. To hear the noise of thunder is no sign of a quick ear. What the ancients called a clever fighter is one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. Hence his victories bring him neither reputation for wisdom nor credit for courage. He wins his battles by making no mistake. Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. Hence, the skilled fighter puts himself in a position which makes defeat impossible, and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. Thus, it is in war that the victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won, whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterward looks for victory. The consummate leader cultivates the moral law and strictly adheres to method and discipline. Thus, it is in his power to control success. You might recall previous chapters. The moral law indicates it inspires the troops. It indicates you're doing the right thing. You're promoting those who likewise see, who advocate your values, and that these are the values of your people. And this is, this is the moral law of a civil society or of an army. If you are making the best use of your resources, you are a champion of the moral law. And, okay, again, we'll finish the chapter here first, and then we'll circle back to some possible problems with this. 17. In respect of military method, we have firstly measurement, secondly estimation of quantity, thirdly calculation, fourthly balancing of chances, fifthly victory. So there's this notion of being able to measure, to evaluate, to estimate, and then once you've come up with your rough estimation, start calculating, balancing the chances of the calculation, and then if you have the proper skill and vision, you can see the victory. Measurement owes its existence to Earth. Estimation of quantity to measurement, calculation to estimation of quantity, balancing of chances to calculation, and victory to balancing of chances. That is, you cannot calculate. You will not get very far in calculating, that is, if you do not measure, if you do not have some appreciation for the nature of the battle. If you're just randomly calculating things, really, this leads back to the earlier point that's raised, like, to lift an autumn here is no sign of great strength. If you can spot the sun and the moon in the sky, yeah, that's not a sign of skill. And when it comes to a real war, or a real battle, you will struggle if you don't have this discipline and skill and science, really. A victorious army, opposed to a routed one, is as a pound's weight placed in the scale against a single grain. The onrush of a conquering force is like the bursting of pent-up waters into a chasm 1,000 fathoms deep. So, that is Sun Tzu's saying about tactical dispositions. That a person, an army, a general is the word he uses, general who is skilled, does not put himself into battle without seeing the victory first. Now, in our modern era, there is something recognized by science, or social science, as survivorship bias. So it is possible that something such as luck could occur. Over a long run of time, it's uncommon for a person to continually be lucky, but luck does still occur. So, how do I say this? So, I think this saying does still logically follow in very, very many cases that the general who abides by the moral law, who does the right things, will succeed in battle and has the strongest possible opportunity of success. However, just even if a general makes no mistakes, if they're playing the wrong game and if they set themselves into playing this without having seen the victory first, I guess it's the fault of the general for having accepted a condition under which they're not going to win. So, yeah, I guess they're, like, in terms of strategy gaming, there are some games of chance, but there are also strategy games where a player accepts a handicap to try to make the game more social. And there are even military strategy simulator games where players will take on sides in historic battles, and the odds are not even in the battle. So, Sun Tzu would say here that if you put yourself into the battle and then look for the opportunity of victory, that is not an indication of a skilled general. This is quite strict. And perhaps the world can be seen this way. But I think more practical for you and I is recognizing the other point that is raised in this chapter. Sure, a general can win their battle by making no mistakes, but playing and making no mistakes with modern games does not always guarantee a certainty of victory. And alternatively, making mistakes is not what guarantees defeat. Reality is a bit more complex. I remember seeing recent documentaries about players playing with and without mistakes in chess over the centuries, and various accusations that have been lobbied and what a mess things have become. And even today, we still don't really have a way of measuring a player's skill directly. You can measure a player's performance, but to measure their skill, I guess there are puzzles. We have many different ways of measuring skill, but none that really captures the essence of what Sun Tzu is saying here. So, yeah, I think that there is room to try to figure out how people learn, to try to figure out how people take different approaches and methods to solve problems. But also, there is immense value in recognizing successes of the most successful generals. So, sure, it is one thing to just generally, vaguely speak about cultivation of moral law and adherence to method and discipline in some abstract sense. But in a different sense, if you look at those who have been successful at many things, not just strategy games, but business and anything, what have you, there is some notion of understanding what you are doing and deeply understanding it, and understanding the mechanics of how something works, whether or not you will publicly admit to such a thing. In the case of simple military strategy games, like, it's spelled out in black and white here. And with respect to military method, there is measurement, estimation of quantity, calculation, balancing of chances, and finally victory. And through that sequence, if you can measure, if you can estimate the quantities involved, if you have some visualization capability, and that vision doesn't have to be perfect. Of course not. We're all human. So, throughout this calculation, you envision some future possibility, and you evaluate the balance of chances in that future possibility as compared to the present. and as compared to other possible futures. And you select some range of futures that look interesting and that look like they have potential. You, it's yeah. Um, I don't really know how to spell this out any more black and white than Sun Tzu does here. That, and you don't just start by calculating either. You come up with some evaluation that helps you set goals, and those goals help you figure out what sorts of things you want to start calculating. And then you're working your way through these candidates and evaluating at the end of each calculation, is this look, am I satisfied with what I'm seeing? Does this look like victory? Does this look immensely confusing? Do I need to spend more time? Does this look clear? What goals do I think I'm succeeding at? Why do I think I'm succeeding at those goals? Which goals might my opponent be trying to succeed at? And how successful do I think they will be? Like this, it's, if children can figure it out, the rest of us can too. And in that wake of things, like primitive AIs are also starting to reason about things in this manner. AlphaGo had this, I forget how the team described it, but it had this policy coordinator, and then it would calculate within the scope of the policy. And things weren't perfect, and this is why companies submit their engines to compete in these exciting contests, is to have an opportunity to try to really acid test their prototype or their work. It would be a pointless experiment if the company running a contest or participating in it just, like Sun Tzu says here, like if you can spot the sun in the sky, if you can spot the moon, like that's not an achievement. Also, some interest in here is that Sun Tzu says, neither is it the acme of excellence if you fight and conquer, and the whole empire says, well done. Maybe we forget that in passing. I find that actually enlightening, that just because people congratulate you at your successes does not mean necessarily that you've exhibited the acme of excellence. And likewise, if there are other people who have been congratulated publicly, like, still try to keep a critical mind about things. There's a good chance that they've done many things well. Perhaps they've done everything well. But keep an open and critical mind, an open eye and open ear. And these will improve your chances wherever you happen to be general. So, yeah, I think this chapter about tactical dispositions, it's very well versed. It seems to take a different I don't know. It has a different focus than the previous sections. And so I'm curious, like, was this all, how was this document produced, I wonder? Was it all produced all at the same time, all by the same person? I assume so. But it is interesting to see just this morality exhibited through a different lens here. While there is much in common with previous chapters, this is a bit more concrete and doesn't get so much into philosophy. And it does stop short a bit, I think, when it talks about, like, measurement owes its existence to Earth, and doesn't really expound upon, like, okay, what kind of measurement? How can we know if measurement is done properly, and so forth? So this section seems a bit brief. Still, it raises many interesting points I think are worth studying, not just on your own, but studying like how others have also made use of this knowledge. I'm trying to think of how I can make something productive out of this afterward. I have at one point produced chess engines and other primitive game engines, and have had to go through this discipline of testing things and yeah, evaluation was the first step. Like, if you're producing a chess engine, first you make something that could play the moves of the game legally, I assume. Second, you introduce some kind of evaluation function, and you start tuning that function, and start introducing ways of calculating, and just keep optimizing your engine to move faster, to evaluate more efficiently and accurately, to calculate more efficiently and accurately, and so forth. So if you've gone through that exercise, this section all seems to be common sense. If you've participated in any kind of academic contest, chances are you have some idea what he's referring to here as well. So I think this applies to any strategy game, but I think it could apply in some sense not just to military and strategy games, but I think this could apply to life too. Sure, the goal might not be to destroy the enemy army, but being able to evaluate things, I think it goes beyond the scope of tactical dispositions, but to communicate with other people about the tactics and clearly understand them and their consequences, one has greater successes. And so this leads us to some understanding of virtue. Generally, I don't do the clickbaity thing of asking for put your comment in the comments section, etc. But I think this is such a key thing, especially in our era where some top chess players, many top chess players, are making such wild statements, and there doesn't seem to be much respect given to what seems to be kind of obvious here. That I don't know. I feel like there's some way to advance this kind of knowledge and vulgarize it, that is, make it easily understandable and easy to distribute and so forth. So I don't know what to do to try to make this more obvious to people. There are many people interested in chess and interested in drama that maybe they're more interested in drama than in themselves becoming chess experts, and I guess I can respect that. But it's just kind of incredible to me what importance we've given to such wild things. And I'm not going to call out players by name at this time. That's not the point. The point is that we need a better system, a better way of teaching people. I do respect the work of some groups that try to study chess and encourage others to study and help provide the tools to do this. I do hope that there can be more of a future where those sorts of activities are further encouraged. I guess I will um, honor here the group chess dojo that although I don't play in their tournaments, I do like the tooling that they provide. I do like the concepts that they advocate for. I don't care for their paranoia about cheating, and but we can disagree on things and agree on other things, and so that I think they're a good ally in helping us understand like the importance of evaluation and analysis and visualization. Like they're doing good things. They're doing good work. I would like to see more out there for a variety of strategy games to help us better understand and better empower students to understand if they are learning or not. I think just an immense, there's so much excitement about end results and about who's congratulated and we tell them well done. And does this mean that they did well? They did okay if they're being congratulated, but we live in a complex world, can we say? I somehow doubt that this notion of acme of excellence has at any time been fully praised. Like, sure, a general engages in combat when they know that they can succeed at it. And so they emerge successful. Whether or not other people can succeed, can observe the immense struggle that they had achieving their success. Um, yeah, there's so many chess masters out there that have excellent results, but they're not at the top, so people don't pay as much attention to them and their successes. It's easier to point to their mistakes. That's quite unfortunate. Um, but yeah, I'd like to see more about helping our people helping each other learn. Not necessarily with chess or shogi or any kind of strategy game, but just learning in general. I think likewise, you need this sense of being able to measure and estimate and evaluate for any sort of academic endeavor, and perhaps maybe even non-academic endeavors too. And Sun Tzu says that measurement owes its existence to Earth. And so, like, this notion of being able to measure is a very natural thing. There are sciences which do exist that talk about hypothetical things. And that's not just STEM, but like that can cover social science. Well, not, I don't know. I'm not a social scientist, but there are sciences which cover um, things that are less known to us at this time. But there's still this need to try to control information and validate it and understand that you know it's valid. And I don't know, maybe what we need in general is just a better way of understanding and validating and sharing with other people that things have been validated. And it's not strictly on a basis that's, oh yeah, I trust this person or this group. Maybe we need a better way to communicate about how valid we think data are. I don't know. Um, and maybe that does become a matter of law. Like in the USA, we have strong free speech rights, um, and we treat corporations the same way we treat people with regard to that right. In other places, there are different laws about how you communicate information and how it can be presented. And so, yeah, everywhere we learn virtue differently. It can be a bit mind-numbing, I think, having, like, it's deeply unfortunate in the USA that statistics is not required to obtain a high school diploma. Everybody needs a basic understanding of statistics in order to make sense of a lot of this nonsense that is presented out there that sounds convincing unless you can pick it apart. Maybe maybe this is what I need to focus on next. I know that there are wonderful organizations that already teach this sort of thing, paid or otherwise, like MIT OpenCourseWare makes available their courses about statistics. But I don't know. There needs to be some vulgarization of this information so that people can widely understand and share this information and celebrate their common understanding. I think this would help us better understand virtue together if we could understand simpler things with regard to strategy and planning. But I don't know. So again, I don't want to be the person who clickbaits and says, like, submit a comment or something, but I'll be thinking about this. Feel free to think about it yourself too. And I think I'll continue with this series even if I'm taking a break from playing strategy games myself, or even if I'm taking a break from shogi. I think I'll still continue this series because there are morally compelling things to look at. So, thanks for listening. Have a good day.